This week on ANN, Adventist media professionals celebrate films as tools for outreach.
Promoting healthy living in Brazil.
And Adventist television expands in Costa Rica.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, a growing community of Adventist filmmakers met in the U.S. state of California last weekend to share their work, gain exposure, and network with other media and film professionals. Brandon Roberts has this report on their unique ministry.
The first time I saw you, it was like a breath of fresh air.
For a growing audience around the world, movies have become the modern form of storytelling. Filmmakers looking for movies that speak truth and change lives found inspiration at this year's Sunscreen Film Festival. The annual film festival showcases the best in short films, animations, and documentaries by Christian filmmakers of all ages. This year, the festival took place at the Adventist Media Center in Simi Valley, California. Organized by the North American region of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the festival gives an opportunity for many filmmakers to showcase their talents. This year's featured keynote speaker was Christian filmmaker David A.R. White. He challenged everyone to strive to create films that uplift and inspire.
The question is, are we painting the right picture? And how do we do that? We must first prepare ourselves physically, spiritually, to be the canvas.
The festival included a pitch fest where participants were allowed to pitch a story idea to a panel of judges, with the winner gaining a $10,000 grant to start off funding for the project. Rajiv Sigamoni, film program coordinator at Pacific Union College, won the pitch fest and will work in coordination with the North American region to create his film. Throughout the weekend, filmmakers of all ages were given the opportunity to interact and ask questions to panels of experienced filmmakers, directors, and writers. Nathan DeWild, director of photography for the new documentary Adventist 2, believes Sunscreen is a place that can help everyone grow as a filmmaker, especially at a young age.
I think what Sunscreen does for a lot of students is that it gives them a chance and a place to show their work. A lot of times, I feel like the best way you can get better in filmmaking is to be able to show your work and to get responses on that work so that you can learn and become a better filmmaker.
On Saturday morning, the audience was also treated to a sneak peek of the Adventist Church's new web series, The Record Keeper. Jason Satterlin, director of The Record Keeper, believes production value of the new web series will be able to compete with what Hollywood is making today.
We really strived and worked hard to make this on a level that competes with Iron Man and Transformers. That's the level that we were trying to get to.
And if this web series does do well, he believes more films like these can be used as witnessing tools in the church.
If this is a success, this is going to open the door for everybody. This is going to let the deep pockets that are available in our church, they will know, okay, this kind of thing can work. And it will open the door to everyone else with their ideas. They'll start putting out more stuff, I promise you.
You can follow progress on The Record Keeper on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/TheRecordKeeper.
At Brazil Adventist University in São Paulo, students and faculty are promoting the benefits of exercise by hosting a walk for the community. Novo Tempo Media Center sent this report.
For the second year, a Seventh-day Adventist college in the state of Minas Gerais, Brazil, is holding a walk to promote physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Different activities and programs are offered to children, youth, and adults who get up early and start moving. The benefits of physical activity are well known. They are beneficial and essential for wholesome and healthy living. Participants took 3 laps around the college campus. The purpose? To show young people the importance of physical activities.
It's the second time I participate in this walk. I hope I can do this again, because I like it.
Healthful living has become an additional worry in today's society, and walking has become an even more popular activity. Its benefits are the real prize. The incentives are willpower that are awarded for the first, second, and third place winners. There was even a raffle for all participants, but the main objective is to get the community involved in promoting healthful living.
Zambia's ambassador to the United States says he values the Adventist Church's humanitarian work and educational development in the southern African country. Ambassador Palin Mulanda was visiting the denomination's headquarters last week in the U.S. state of Maryland. The Adventist Church's Dorcas Mothers movement is popular in Zambia, often drawing thousands of people to events and raising awareness of HIV/AIDS and other social issues.
The newly launched Esperanza TV in Costa Rica is the first 24/7 Adventist television channel in the church's inter-American region. Hundreds of Adventists in the country recently gathered for the inaugural broadcast. Church media professionals say the channel will promote cultural and social values. Dozens of new programs are expected to cover health, music, financial management, and other topics. Esperanza TV will air on Costa Rica's 30 cable companies, reaching a potential audience of close to 5 million people.
And finally, in the news this week, Adventists worldwide are remembering the impact of a young tech leader who died in a tragic accident last week. Andrew Kunta was director of the Office of Adventist Church Membership Software. In that role, he helped standardize the way the church keeps track of its members worldwide, leading to greater accuracy and transparency. He died in a motorcycle accident last Saturday after visiting a friend in the U.S. state of West Virginia. He was 33. Friends and colleagues say Kunta brought a spiritual tone to a job he could have seen as purely technical.
When reading The Great Hope, this section really caught my attention. As arrows from the Lord's quiver, the Reformer's words pierce their hearts. With whom, think you, are ye contending? With an old man from the brink of the grave? No, with truth. Truth, which is stronger than you, and truth that will overcome you. This brings me great hope because it's an excellent example of how John Wycliffe stood for the truth, and he defended that truth to the grave. Even as a person who was very educated in the philosophies of the world, he stood by the truth of the Bible. And this definitely gives me great hope because no matter what happens in our Christian walk, we know that we can stand by the truth of the Bible.
That was Andrew Kunta sharing a passage that he found especially meaningful from the Great Controversy. The book, by church co-founder Ellen White, traces how Christians overcame challenges throughout history to remain faithful to biblical truth. The spot was recorded last year for a project called 60 Seconds of Hope.
I know I'm looking for something, but what? Peace? Purpose? Meaning? I'm still not sure, but I know it's going to take faith.
The main motivator for me each day is the ability to contribute to a better society. It's the ability to know that the decisions I make each day impact and affect someone's life. And if I take it seriously, that my job is to make sure that justice is done. It's their life. And for me, knowing that, that's what motivates me and moves me.
14 young adults from around the world are coming together in one city. Their mission? Rolling up their sleeves and hitting the streets to help others wherever and whenever they are needed. Follow these urban missionaries as they share their love and their time with people in need. Join them as they create lifelong friendships and share God's love this year in New York City. 1 year in mission, NY13.
I don't remember any moments that my parents hugged me or held my hands, or I never heard that they say, "Liana, I love you." I was struggling with a severe depression.
Welcome back. We asked Janet Page for an update from the Ministerial Spouses Association. She has this report.
I'd like to tell you about the latest edition of our Ministry Spouses magazine. The theme of it is Growing Happy Children. And inside are a lot of good articles on how to help your children. but there's also one on when you're feeling overwhelmed, what to do. And that one is just especially good. I hope you can get the magazine and read it. It's about a lady who was very sick and just overwhelmed. She couldn't take care of her kids, and how God led her to gain strength through something very simple that any of us can do that will help us. But also there's an article on the greatest cruelty to children. This one really surprised me because it's a cruelty that I never thought about before with our kids. So I hope if you're not receiving the magazine, contact your local regional director and ask how you can get it. God bless you.
The Global Adventist Internet Network brings together a worldwide community of technology professionals to share ideas and best practices. We asked Williams Costa Jr. for a preview of this year's conference.
One of the greatest paradoxes in the world today is the fact that some people look for individualism, but we live in a time that social network is bigger than ever. People say, well, it's important to do things by ourselves and to gain and to conquer. So individualism is very strong, very powerful. At the same time, we live in a time that the interrelation, the facility to network is like never before. We will have very soon GAIN, Global Adventist Internet Network. The main goal of this conference is the network. Of course, that will have wonderful presentations, we have wonderful experience, we go to a different location, but the network, to understand what people from the West and from the East are doing, ideas, to share this in a big, wonderful community of technologists, content providers, it's something unforgettable. You can't miss the GAIN conference. That will happen in Dubai, May 15 to 19, and that will be the network of everybody. Please come.
Now let's find out what our Facebook and Twitter followers were talking about this week. Megan Bronner has a roundup of Adventist social media highlights.
This week's social media news in 90 seconds. Oakwood Adventist University enters its final weekend in the Retool Your School competition to win a campus improvement grant. Make sure to visit retoolyourschool.com to vote and share with your friends. If you follow our Instagram account, you saw the first stop on our headquarters tour this week. Russian nesting dolls given to World Church President Ted Wilson. The Matryoshka dolls are on display outside the presidential conference room. Tweet your tour stop requests to Adventist Church using the hashtag AdventistHQ. And the yearly spring meeting of World Church Leadership takes place April 12 to 15. Follow Adventist News for breaking headlines during the meetings. In 2013, Adventists are celebrating 150 years of church history, so follow along with the hashtag Adventist150. And GAIN announced the keynote speaker for the 2013 conference. Adventist Church President Ted Wilson will give the keynote sermon. The annual Global Media Internet Network meeting is coming up in May. You still have plenty of time to register for the conference at gain.adventist.org. The one-year mission team visited the Seventh-day Adventist World Church headquarters this week and volunteered to help with our Pray for Togo campaign. You can see their pictures on the Adventist Church Facebook page and Instagram account. And lastly, we'd like to take a moment to remember a departed colleague. People shared prayers and words of support on Facebook and Twitter this week as we mourn the loss of Andrew Kunta, Director of Adventist Church Membership Software. Kunta passed away after a motorcycle accident last weekend. You can visit the Adventist Church's Facebook page to share your own prayers and words of support for the family.
A new Office of Religious Liberty in Canada is using the country's freedom of belief to lobby for others who don't enjoy these protections. Dwayne Leslie has more.
According to a recently released study by the Pew Forum, threats to religious liberty around the world have significantly increased of late as more countries impose severe restrictions on religion, while harassment and intimidation of religious groups has surged. These global developments, in part, led the country of Canada to announce in February 2013 the formation of a new Office of Religious Freedom, to be led by Dr. Andrew Bennett. This office has been tasked with promoting religious freedom around the world and monitoring the persecution of religious minorities. In announcing this new office, Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper made a point to emphasize that most of the countless men and women who are persecuted for their faith are not known to us by name. But to them, we say, Canada will not forget you. When you are silenced, we will speak out, and we will use our freedom to plead for yours. Canadian Foreign Minister John Baird echoed similar sentiments last year when he was the keynote speaker at the Liberty Dinner, an annual event co-sponsored in part by the International Religious Liberty Association and the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We are happy to announce that Ambassador Bennett will be our keynote speaker for the dinner this year, and we look forward to his message. Even a cursory review of the news highlights the fact that many of our brothers and sisters around the world continue to face restrictions and/or persecution simply for what they believe. The IRLA is hopeful that other countries will make the protection and promotion of religious freedom a top priority.
Adventists in the military have a unique mission field. As Gary Council says on this month's feature from Chaplaincy Ministries, they can impact communities churches often can't.
Adventists in the military serve the church in several positive ways. Their discipleship witnesses to population groups that the church seldom reaches. Their service demonstrates Adventism can be practiced in any situation, and trusting a sovereign God determines faith rather than circumstances, comfort, or convenience. They create change by working within the armed forces rather than opposing it from the outside. For example, Adventist chaplains were influential in providing faith field rations, creating family ministry programs, placing immersion baptistries in chapels, and working policies for accommodation of religious practices. Their excellent duty performance brings credibility to the denomination and shows how Christians can balance being in the world but not of the world, while simultaneously fulfilling civic responsibilities and rendering to God what is rightfully His. Their courage, loyalty, and sacrifices model loving your neighbor as yourself. Many military members engage in humanitarian assistance. They are fulfilling the Lord's requirements to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God by seeking to save life. They are willing to defend and protect the innocent, weak, and helpless, even at the cost of their own life. That is exemplary, loving service. To learn more about Adventists in uniform, contact Adventist Chaplaincy Ministries.
Still ahead on ANN, our Family Ministries leaders talk about a Bible verse they say sums up all the relationship advice you'll ever need.
But up next, what the molecular structure of lizards reveals about creation.
Well, I do pray for them, just like my family and friends and neighbors.
I pray that I will keep on going through my hard weeks of school.
I pray for my little brother. Please pray 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, 7 days a week.
I love learning about my ancestors. It makes me feel like I have a place in history. And I always tell my family, the more you learn about your past, the more you understand the present. But the past doesn't have all the answers, especially about the future. There's so much uncertainty and so much fear in the world today. Which is why I'm so happy that I found something that brings together my past, my present, and my future. I know that no matter what happens, there is a plan. And this gives me hope.
Welcome back. The theory of evolution suggests that lizards shared a common ancestor, but when Adventist scientists take a closer look, they find a different story. Tim Standish has this report.
Darwin's theory of common descent assumes all lizards descended from a common ancestor. Over time, this common ancestor produced two major kinds of lizards: the iguanas, which capture food with their fleshy, unforked tongues, and those that capture food with their jaws and use their forked tongues as sensory organs. The problem is that when the bodies of these two kinds of lizards are compared, they tell one evolutionary story, but when their proteins are examined, they tell a very different story about their assumed ancestry. Traditionally, it's been thought that if molecular data like DNA and proteins were analyzed correctly, they trump other analyses. But with lizards, the stories are so irreconcilably different that some are arguing that the evolutionary story generated from protein sequences must be wrong. The biblical story of creation frees Christians to understand that neither evolutionary story is necessarily true. The reason the data may not be resolved into a reasonable evolutionary story is that these two different kinds of lizards never shared a common ancestor. They were created by God, who was free to use DNA and protein sequences as he pleased when creating different kinds of lizards.
With automatic subscriptions and unwanted emails, your inbox can easily get out of hand. On this week's Tech Corner, John Beckett shares his top tips for rethinking the way you handle email on your phone and computer.
A while ago, I decided it was time to rethink the way I handle email. Please understand, I reply to email and usually keep up, but I'd become frustrated that I couldn't always remember emails I'd read on my phone, but wanted to reply to later. My inbox also was getting pretty big and it was annoying to scroll through all of it. There has to be a better way than this. Here's a few things I discovered while working on fixing my email situation. First, I unsubscribed from most email lists by hitting the unsubscribe link at the bottom of messages. After I'd done this for a few weeks, I was receiving a lot less email, but things were still too messy. So I looked around online for advice and found inbox0.com. This site offers a quick education in processing your email. For me, this means that when I get a new email, I delete it right away if it has no further value. If I need to keep it, I sort it into one of 3 folders. I use Hot for things I want to deal with soon, Pending for things I want to come back to after somebody else responds, and Archive for things I just want to keep for future reference. I don't worry about a complicated archive structure, I just hit the search box. This system is working really well for me. It's keeping the most important things visible and fits my need to use email on both my phone and my computer. Most of us do spend a lot of time dealing with email, so it's well worth the effort to spend just a little time improving the way we use it.
For this month's feature from Family Ministries, Willie and Elaine Oliver talk about the best relationship advice they ever read.
You know, one of the verses that I love in the Bible is James 1:19. Yeah. And this text talks, it's just a great text for improving relationship. It says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That's everything we need right there. I mean, you don't even need any psychology books, even though psychology books are good. But
well, they'll tell you more about what's happening.
Absolutely.
But it's a great text.
But it's a great text. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. Imagine if we all employed this in our relationships, how wonderful our communication would be.
You know, the reality is, in relationships, whether in marriage or as parents with children or children with parents, we tend to not listen well to each other. The Bible is saying quick to listen, slow to speak. But we're not quick to listen.
Right. We're quick to speak.
We're quick to speak.
Quick to defend ourselves.
And quick to defend ourselves. And because we're quick to speak, we're not listening. And because we're quick to defend ourselves, we're not really paying attention to what the other individual is saying. So really, in our families, we need to listen to each other, pause, think, and choose the right response. When we speak that way, then we'll have great relationships and we can give honor and glory to God.
Now, let's turn to David Trim for a look at this week's Adventist history.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History, a week in which we remember beloved leaders. On April 8, 2010, Charles E. Dudley died. Dudley was president of the South Central Conference in North American Division from 1962 to 1993. He was the longest-serving conference president in Adventist history. 2 days later, but much earlier in 1862, Erwin Henry Evans was born. Evans was a versatile church administrator, serving as president of the Michigan Conference, the General Conference Association, the Foreign Mission Board, the Review and Herald Publishing Association, of 3 divisions, the Asiatic, North American, and Far Eastern divisions. And then he was vice president of the General Conference, and he was also treasurer of the General Conference for 6 years, during which time he laid the financial infrastructure for worldwide missions in the first half of the 20th century. And, just to top it off, he was an author, educator, and hymn writer, largely responsible for the creation of the church hymnal. On April 11, 1903, William Ambrose Spicer was elected secretary of the General Conference. Before his election, Spicer had served as a missionary on 3 continents and as secretary of the Foreign Mission Board for 2 years. Spicer brought his experience and his mission-mindedness into his role of General Conference Secretary, a role he held for almost 2 decades. He quite simply revolutionized the position, molding it to its modern shape, and also helping to make Adventism a worldwide mission church. That was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, follow us on Twitter. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and join in our weekly social media conversations. Just search for Adventist News on twitter.com.
Our good news for this week comes from the New Testament book of 1 Thessalonians. The passage says, "But I do not want you to be ignorant concerning those who have fallen asleep, lest you sorrow as others who have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so God will bring with him those who sleep in Jesus."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.